What is good, Guardians? Welcome to another Destiny 2 video from Ultimate Casual Gaming, the home for the casual gamer. I'm just flexing. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to give you my early impressions of PvP after the Destiny 2 1.1.4 update, otherwise known as the Go Fast update. It's definitely still very early, as the update just came out on Tuesday of this week. However, I have logged somewhere around 12 hours into the game since the update, and that time has been about 95% in the Crucible. So I feel like I can make an informed early impression of this new sandbox and whether these changes have been for the better. Now, I've already been seeing some things on YouTube saying that the community is unhappy with the update and disappointed the changes weren't more significant. Look, here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to let you know some of the positives I've observed already while playing the game since the update, along with some of the areas of possible improvement. But again, I want to stress that this is an early impressions video and there's a lot more PvP to be played before a final assessment can be given on this update. Now, I plan to also do an impressions video of the PvE side of the house, but I really do think that this update is primarily a PvP sandbox update, although they have done things like like Nightfall specific loot, the changes there, and they did change a lot of the weapons to be more powerful in PvE, as well as increasing our abilities so that our PvE experience is much better. So I do want to address that in a different video. This one, I really do want to just think about or speak about what's happening with PvP. So let's go ahead and jump into my overall impressions of the update. First off, I think that the folks over at Bungie did a really nice job. I feel like the game is better. It's improved. And that's the whole point of an update, right? That the game is better today than it was yesterday. And in this case, better than it was Tuesday. So there's a lot of positives I felt right away going into the game, or after I played my first few games. I was really feeling overall like, man, this is something. This is something that is better. I feel better about the Crucible. I'm enjoying it. The overall speed and mobility. So let's talk about that first. This was called the Go Fast update. And a lot of people have been talking about the fact that you really don't run fast. It's only strafe speed and walk speed that are affected by the mobility stat. Well, I can understand that that's a bit disappointing. I do have to think that the fact that they didn't take the time to kill down, I know people were hoping that they would, but the fact that they didn't means that increasing things like overall movement speed when you're sprinting would really make it difficult, and I think people would be more frustrated. I think if people really thought about this for a minute, you probably understand why Bungie made the decision it did not to affect sprint speed, because it'd be even harder to kill people who aren't challenging you directly. They can just run away a lot easier, and they would be so much faster if they boosted mobility. So I can understand that. Really don't have an issue with that. I do think strafe speed is impacted, and I did see some videos from folks like Fallout Plays. If you haven't heard of him, go check out some of his stuff. Houndish also did some stuff. There's some folks in the community that are really taking a look at some of these things, and so there has been some change. The big thing too to think about is for folks that are aerial, and the reason I noticed the mobility and speed pretty much right away was I'm a person who enjoys getting in the air. I play with a Warlock. I'm a Warlock main, but also even when I'm on the Titan or I'm on the Hunter, I like to get up in the air. And so if you're a person who enjoys getting up in the air, you're going to notice that your movement just feels more fluid. I know that folks are saying the Hunters really didn't get anything, but there is a boost to overall jump height and things like that. You can get up pretty high if you increase your mobility, and I like things like that. So particularly with the Warlock, you do see that, you know, the ability to glide in the air, get pretty high in the air, and really rain down on folks. That definitely was boosted. And as well, you know, just jumping in general, particularly when you do like things like the burst glide and stuff like that, you're going to see speed increase. So the speed has been really put into the jumps, and things like catapult with the Titan, those things have really been noticeable. Not to mention the super, and we'll talk about that in a second. The other thing that I noticed right away was weapon balance and diversity. And man, you just see now granted, it's early on and people are trying out a lot of the weapons to see how viable they are. but I did notice the hand cannons seem to be really effective. I was getting really outgunned at times by folks with the better devils. I was seeing all types of handguns out there. So that's pretty encouraging. The hand cannons are back. Pulse rifles, man, I think everybody's gonna be talking about this. It's probably gonna mean that pulse rifles are ingrained in the meta, I think, going forward. That's my prediction. I think pulse rifles are going to reign supreme, but we'll see. Things like the Vigilant Swing are also already getting a lot of buzz because of its ability to two-tap if you get all crits. But pulse rifles are back. I've played with a bunch of pulse rifles, and I can tell you I was impressed overall with just how many of them were effective in the Crucible. Nightshade is back. I really enjoyed the Nightshade. I thought it did very well. Obviously, Vigilant Swing. But even guns like, I think, sleeper guns like the Durham's Claw, the Iron Banner Pulse, I was doing really well with that. Now, I do not have the Raid Pulse. I know that that one is another one that everyone says is meta because it is out there wrecking shop. So there's a bunch of pulse rifles right now that are viable that you can use. I haven't even played with all of them yet. I plan to just work my way through them. I played with a few that were underwhelming. The Time Worn Spire, it was okay. I thought it would be much better, but it wasn't up to where I thought it would be. I think I'm still looking at things like the Lincoln Green to see if they're effective. But overall, pulse rifles are in great shape. You also see that autos are still pretty strong. They can still compete. You're still seeing folks playing with Uriel's Gift and others, and they're still effective. So they didn't nerf those into the ground. They just took the range out of them, a little bit of the aim assist. But that for folks that are good with those guns, I don't think you're going to have real problems. I will say from a power weapon standpoint, you're seeing a lot more shotguns in there. My goodness, the Legend of Acreus is all over the place. I don't have that gun either. I really haven't done a lot of raiding, so that's part of my problem. But man, I wish I had that thing. It does annoy the heck out of me, and it's everywhere, but it is what it is, and shotguns are back. The Fusion, you see the occasional Fusion. I know I'm one of the folks that likes to go in there with the Fusion rifle every now and then. So you do see that, and you see the occasional sniper. I would also say SMGs. Now, I love SMGs. SMGs and sidearms are in a good place. You see a lot of them being utilized right now to see where they fit in the meta. I think SMGs are really strong. I think for PvE, we'll talk about that in the future. Most of the changes that SMGs received are mainly for PvE. So they are what they are. They were good before. They're still strong. So overall, I'm feeling really good about the weapon balance and the diversity of weapons that I'm seeing in the Crucible. I also like that the respawn timers. Now, respawn timers have been really quick, and it's one of those things that you may not notice right away, but you are spawning in pretty fast. Everyone's spawning in pretty fast, and you're getting right back into the action. So that in and of itself makes you feel like the gameplay is much faster. And I'm seeing some pretty impressive leaderboards at the end of these matches, man. I had one game where myself and every other person on my team had over 30 eliminations. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of kills. We know how that goes, but we had everyone over there with 30. I have never had a team or a leaderboard show that in the past. So that's just indicative of what's going on. Consistently, I'm seeing teams where both sides are getting 20 plus eliminations. Okay, that's all about whether you're getting, like in a game of Control, whether you're getting advantage kills or not, so that you get more points and you can win the game. There was one game where my team had 2 people with over 30 eliminations and everyone else had 20, so we were out there definitely putting in work, but we were not getting the zones and we lost, and you know how that goes. So respawn timers, I really like that. It gets us back into the action quickly. There's also a ton more power ammo, as they said there would be, and man, is this significant. So that's why you're seeing a lot more of colonies, which annoy the heck out of me, and occasional swords, but not as many swords as before, thank God, but they're still there. You still see people dropping that one rocket on you every now and then. So power ammo is in plentiful supply, and I do like the change where you drop your ammo when you're killed so the person can pick it up, so there's a reward for challenging people with power weapons. I like that. You're also seeing the cooldowns for abilities and supers are noticeable and pretty significant. I know there was one match that I had where I actually was able to get 3 supers. Now that's rare. Normally it's at least 2, but if you have a team where they've got some masterwork weapons and they're out there getting kills with their supers, you're seeing a lot of orbs in the ground, you're picking it back up. And especially in the games of like Control, where you're getting super ability, you get a decent amount, you get super ability for every zone that you help capture. It helps you get your super back quicker, as well as I had 3 mods on that help increase, that stacked to the maximum 3 times to increase my ability. So overall, I think that's noticeable. I'm also saying that I'm getting into more 1v1s. Not huge at the moment, so it's just an early impression, but I was feeling like I was getting into some more 1v1s than in the past. Now granted, that's not saying a whole lot because there weren't a ton of 1v1s at all in the pre-update, but you will see that you're going to get into more of those. And finally, I would say I think the skill gap is back. I think you're starting to see things like super abilities with classes like the Warlock class with the Dawn Blade, where you got to know what you're doing with that thing. I know me, I'm still learning it, and there are times when I'm really ineffective with the super. I get up in the air and I'm not quite sure how to come down, and you know, the animation just fills up the screen a lot of times, distracted. I can't even see people on the map. So it's definitely something that you've got to learn to master, as well as just being in the air. Not everybody is good at that, especially quick bursts like the Dawn Blade has. They're skilled there. I think similarly, you're going to see the same thing with the Titan and with the Hunter now, with everybody going and using Arc Strider. So that's great. I think now the hand cannons are more viable. You're also seeing that as well, people that are effective in the air. I felt there were more people getting shots on me from the air again, like in D1. So again, I think skill gap is coming back, and you're going to see that be something that people discuss. Now, those are all my initial impressions in terms of overall positives, and I'm really digging it. I couldn't put my controller down, guys. I was loving it. I was playing match after match after match and just enjoying myself. Now, there were a few things that could use a little improvement, and I think those things are minor, honestly, at this point. But I do still think that there's a team shot sandbox still in play. I don't know that I've seen a significant decrease in people team shotting. I still think that goes on to a large degree. I think there's a greater penalty to be paid for it, so we'll see. I think people are feeling like there's more opportunities for them to run out and do things on their own, but you still see a lot of team shotting. I think it's not going to change overnight, but I do think you're going to run into that. You're still going to see that snipers are not in abundance. There are people who are out there trying them out, and maybe the snipers of the community will come back, but you still get the feeling that snipers are hurt by this new weapon system, and hopefully Bungie will address this in the future, where they'll put snipers in their own slot. I think even you can leave shotguns, honestly, in the power weapon slot, but I think snipers almost deserve their own class of weapon, so that they can be used more effectively. That's just my own opinion. I also think that the lack of run speed is a bummer, but I understand why they did it. But I can understand why people are bummed out by that and wish that speed at least had some benefit, or mobility had some benefit to overall sprint speed. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I'm understanding of that. I don't think it's a huge deal. And finally, I would say Rumble. I haven't played a ton of Rumble at this point, but I will say that when you're in there, it's a bit hectic. I tend to like that, though. I know everybody doesn't like that. I remember playing Rumble in the past. I sort of came to Rumble late in D1 and started to really appreciate it, but I did feel like it was more slow-paced and deliberate kind of game mode, and you definitely improve your overall ability for 1v1 engagements. So I understand why that's something that the best players do enjoy. And in this case, I don't know that you're going to get that experience, because you are constantly being rushed by different people. People are spawning in and around you, and you just got to be on your P's and Q's. Again, I like it. I think it's fun, but it's not the Rumble that people from D1 know. And maybe they'll change it back to the D1 Rumble, because there's a lot of people who are not happy with it right now. I think it's a very polarizing mode at this point, so we'll see what they do. So overall, I think, as I said, the game is better today than it was before the update, and I believe that's what you need. That's what Bungie needed. It's going to it is laying the foundation for a much improved game as we move forward. Look, they said, and they were very upfront and candid, that this is not the end of the road. This is just a step in the right direction. This is one step on the road to building the game that we all want it to be. those of us that are still sticking in here with it and have faith in Bungie's ability to deliver a great game. So I'm one of those people, and I'm really encouraged by the update, and I'm loving where the Crucible is at this moment. So if you haven't done it, if you haven't jumped in there yet, I'm not sure if you're already one of those people who gave up on Destiny. I'm not sure this update is going to be the update that brings you back. You may be looking at May to see what the new content brings, or even the fall. But for those of us that are playing, this is a really good update because it gives us, again, something different, something that's better than it was yesterday. So as always, I hope you guys found the content of the video helpful, and certainly appreciate you watching. If you did find it informative, rate the video. If you want, comment on it, tell me what your thoughts are on the update. Share the video. All of it's helpful to the channel and its growth. And of course, if you're new here, do lots of videos on Destiny 2, and in the future we cover some other games. So if that's what you're looking for, of course, I encourage you to subscribe. Join our growing family. That's all for now. And sincere thanks to all you gamers out there, both casual and hardcore. Now let's go and get our game on.